Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Call this meeting to order, Stuart City Council, tentative agenda, Monday, May 8, 2023, 6:30 p.m. Council chambers call to order. Patrick.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Morgan. Here. Hubble.
Here.
Renzo.
Here.
Agenda approval, consent agenda approval of minutes of 4/10/2023, approval of financial statements as of 4/30/2023, approval of bills as presented, approval of liquor license, Deer, approval of liquor license, Ruby's Pub and Brew.
So moved.
Moved by Renzo, second by Morgan. Patrick.
Yes.
Dolly.
Abstain.
Morgan. Yes. Kava.
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
Okay, for city budget amendment certification, at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Did you receive any comments, concerns from the general public? Close the public hearing. B, resolution number 2310C, amending the current city budget fiscal year ending June 30th.
Every year in the same time, when we do, well, I call it balanced budget. Everything during the year that we weren't expected, like receiving land, receiving loan, bond issues, all this stuff, and spending that money. We combine it in May, and we try to balance the budget. If you're familiar with this.
Any questions? Need a motion then?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Kirkpatrick,
Second it.
second by Dolly. How do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Kava,
Yes.
Renzo.
Yes.
Okay, 5, Longboat third edition housing. Forrest, Jeff, who's your talk? Forrest?
So Ash, is there a resolution for approving plan specs formal contract first, and then there's the award of contract? And it's all on the same agenda, but. So, okay. So I'll just kind of go through what we have for the project. We received 5 bids from 5 different contractors, and a low bid for the base bid. And so the base bid for Wumbold third edition is kind of the road out to White Pole Road, and then the middle and southeast part of the subdivision. And then we took bids for an alternate to do the road that's kind of the curve of the road in the northwest corner of the development. So I have the base bid, and then we have the base bid alternate. The low bidder for the base bid only was from Macinich Corporation in the amount of $4,086,000. $4 million, sorry.
Well, that was it.
4,000.
Okay.
Sign the numbers.
$4,086,000. Thank you for that. Low bid for the base bid plus the alternate, so doing the entire project, is from J&K Contract in the amount of $5,504,000. And the council has the prerogative to award for base bid only, or base bid plus alternate, or the entire project. And that's entirely up to the council's discretion which way you want to go. We've worked with both contractors. Our current with both contractors. Both contractors are capable of doing the work, have the skills and the resources to do the work. So as far as the difference between the contractors, they're both capable contractors and do this type of work all the time. It really comes down to more of the financial side of things as far as the base bid for doing the whole thing. And Chip is here tonight to kind of talk you through the financial side of things. And then I can come back up after Chip is done and we can kind of discuss things more. Any questions from the council at this point? Okay.
In the past, Forrest, which have you done more of, the whole or with the?
It all depends on the financing. The last time we did an alternate mayor was the Wamble first edition. We didn't do any alternates with All Saints. We didn't do any alternates with Black. So with the first edition, we ended up taking the alternate, but that was 10 years ago. So
Okay.
I wouldn't let past what we've done in the past dictate what your decisions are today.
Okay, Chip.
All right, good evening, folks. So the Chip Schultz with Northland Public Finance, the bound handout that you have in front of you, I'll just give a high level overview of what it includes. So the material behind the first tab is material you've all seen before. It's background information. If you go to Exhibit A, that's the city's evaluation history and the growth from the first three housing phases. The next page, this page really is the sort of summarizes in the best way what makes the fourth housing phase financially viable. So the first phases did not, but the fourth phase with the blight funding does not have a LMI set aside requirement. That means you don't have a 42% haircut off the top of the TIF revenues that are will be generated from the fourth housing phase. In dollar terms, if you look at column G and compare with the blight finding, the first three phases have a limited life of 11 years. Finding, and over 11 years, that's an economic benefit to the city of $1.4 million blight finding. Over 20 years, the economic benefit to the city with the blight first three phases, they have an 11-year collection life on the TIF monies. That stays the same at $1.9 million. On the no blight set aside, which means there's a blight finding, kind of odd how to describe it. There's a $4.3 million economic benefit to phase 4. We've got evaluation. The second cluster of numbers compares the valuation based on 15 million. So that is about the total of the first three phases. That totals $6.5 million in economic benefit terms over the 20-year comparison period. This page is a summary or an attempt to provide a recap really of, even with the elevated project cost, why phase 4 is economically viable. I think if we did have this 42% set aside requirement, I don't think phase 4 would be economically viable. Next page, Exhibit C. These are the projects that the city has funded, that core infrastructure projects the city's funded from TIF revenues. And I'd point to, there's really, I'd say there's 4, we might have an open discussion about this, but the City Hall project, line 3, the downtown street improvements, line 6, the fire EMS building, line 7, the improvements that were funded in row 10, and then the proposed improvements, Harlan Street Sewer. Those 5 projects are 5 core city infrastructure projects that have benefited from TIF monies. So I know the perception may perhaps be there's infrastructure money being spent out in the housing development. It's also benefiting the core infrastructure of the city. The most obvious, I think, is your downtown work. Behind tab 2, a lot of this you've seen before, so I'll try to just give an overview in brief. Behind tab 2, So at the bottom right are the page numbers, page 7 of 26. This provides, a background cost review, assuming the city awards the base bid only, and a contingency in column D. So this is base bid only, and then if you do a contingency completely at the city's discretion, that's listed out in column D. The total project costs are noted at the bottom right, 7.4 million. This also funds the sports complex and park improvements. This also funds the Tibbin land purchase, that's row 14. It funds the additional project costs consisting of the light blue shaded items. And in total, it's the 7 million for that project cost that is pulled over to the next page, page 8 of 26. And if you'll note under uses of funds, the sort of the subtotal of that cluster, there's a 7 million for number repeated. What's unique with this financing, we're funding the first 2 years of interest costs on the financing from proceeds of the financing because because we had 11 years in the first 3 housing phases, we had a limited period of time to pay that debt back. Therefore, the city's debt service paid by TIF is elevated through fiscal year 28, a little bit through fiscal year 29. So what we're trying to do is time the long-term financing that would pay the short-term debt off to have most of its principal paid off. We have, with the blight funding, you have an unlimited time of TIF collection from phase 4 under current law. So there's no sunset on that TIF. No sunset, no blight set aside. Those 2 pieces are what makes phase 4 economically viable. So this assumes base only plus a contingency, has the first 2 years of interest funded as capitalized interest to better align the timing of debt service paid by TIF. So this assumes the base bid. If you go to page 12 of 26, this includes the base bid only. I guess back to page 11, if you would please. Page 11 of 26, this is no contingency in column D. So no costs are noted there as an additional contingency amount. And then the final scenario C, is on page 15 of 26. This includes the base bid plus the alternate. So the total project cost from a construction bid standpoint on page 15 of 26, that's in row 6, the J&K bid that ties to the 5,504,000 number. And then the financing amount is on the following page, takes the project cost from page 16, pulls it over to page 16 under uses, and then funds the entirety of the project costs. I recognize this as an extremely significant decision for the council. From a financial standpoint, I would simply offer, I think the base bid plus alternate 1 is I think it's a reach. Can it be done? Probably, but it really prioritizes the city doing no other major infrastructure projects for the next few years. I think there's more TIF cash flow room if you do the base bid plus a contingency. And I think the arguments for that approach are, why would you do it? You've had success with the first 3 phases. This phase, proposed phase 4, does not have blight set aside. You have a much longer time duration collection for the TIF monies. You've had success with the funding of not only new but core infrastructure city projects on a decreasing tax levy of the city. And it benefits the city in other ways too, with population growth, with more road use tax monies, more local option sales tax, and probably in theory more hotel motel taxes. The TIF cash flows that we've looked at before with each of the scenarios is behind tab 3. I won't dwell on those in a whole lot of detail, similar to what we've looked at several times before. This includes a long-term financing. And then behind tab 4 is page 24 of 26 is basically background information on the first 3 phases, the key points of housing phase 4, a recommendation for the financing on item 7 on page 24. Should you proceed, the next page, page 25 of 26, is a contemplated financing timeline, including a requested special meeting on May 22nd. So with this approach, funds will be delivered to the city on June 28th, the bottom row, no meetings required on that date. And happy to answer any questions you might have.
Chip, in the past, you've been able to move our finances to pay off our debt considerably sooner than most of them. Like, you save us thousands of dollars.
That's right. We've seen that with the cultural center. We've seen it that we did a 2020 refunding that restructured and shortened the debt. In hindsight, that's causing higher debt payments now through 2028. And we're having to react and account for that. But I think it's nonetheless, we still see the base bid for phase 4 is financially viable for that coverage.
Chip, I might have gotten lost in some of the numbers, but is there projections of what phase 4 does for the city if it performs like all the others?
So I've assumed a 6-year build out for phase 4. Regardless of the number of lots that are constructed, if it's the base bid 36 lots, assume that you get basically six lots a year. You've seen everyone is familiar with, as you've gotten your assessed valuation statements, valuations have been higher. They've been higher for phase 2 and 3, much higher than phase 1. They've grown, with each successive phase. What we'll see the rollback come out from the State Department of Revenue in October. That'll determine the taxable valuation upon which levies are applied. But you've seen a higher valuation as the phase developed. I've assumed a valuation of $305,000 per home for phase 4, build out over 6 years. And if you look at the first 3 phases, frankly, a 6-year build out, there was maybe a slight lull part of last year with phase 3, All Saints. I think that's picked up and that there are just a few lots left. So I think the 6-year build out's frankly pretty conservative.
And the first phase was 150, 160,000. Now we got some are upward, mid 300.
You bet. You've seen several homes sell at mid 300s, and your assessment, a lot of those assessments are in the 310,000 to 340,000 range.
And there is a big shortage of homes right in town. I mean, a few homes I know come up on the market, well, one there maybe sold without being on the market.
So you want to see good demand in the housing market for sure. So that's a good sign.
On your bid without the contingency, I was just wondering, is that a wise thing not to have a contingency? Can you answer that, or can you answer that, Court, or?
I would think we want to have a contingency, yes.
It doesn't allow for much in the way of change orders. So.
Okay, I was gonna say, it kind of limits us if we don't have that for a little bit of savings.
That's right.
Not
So with
With
that
the
thought, my pointed towards scenario A.
Yeah.
So. All right, thank you. I'm happy to answer
Thanks.
questions as you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you for your work on this, Chip. I know it takes a lot of time to do this, but I think it is important for people to realize that money's just not staying out there. It has actually come in to help the town through these projects. And if we didn't have that, we'd probably be seeing either higher sewer rates, higher levies and stuff to get stuff done. So it has been, this is based on what prior councils have also done. Not just this one, so I appreciate all the work.
Glad to do it. Thank you.
Warren Barley, you got any input on this since you've been involved with, for years and years on this through seed? I'd like to hear your viewpoints.
Well, you know, attorney for seed and been involved in economic development for a long time. And there's a cliche that in economic development, you're either growing or you're declining. That there's just no way to maintain a stasis. You either got to you plan to be growing or you're unfortunately going to see some backward movement. And, I don't want to pick on any particular communities, but there are communities in the area that I used to think of as economic development leaders, and they kind of got back on their haunches, and they're not in that position anymore. And it hurts your community. And I think Stuart's got a thing going here, and I think we need to keep that going. The other thing I would say about TIF is that it's really a good deal for the city because the state comes in and backfills the school and city levy. So that's essentially state dollars that we're getting to help out our taxpayers as an incentive for us to engage in economic development. So it's been a good thing for the city of Stuart. To the extent we use these funds as they're available, this increment is, part of it's going to come from all the citizens of the town. I'm not going to deny that just because assessments went up for everybody. But the lion's share of this is going to be borne by new development, things like Quick Start coming in. Their tax bill is going to pay a lot bigger chunk of this than what the individual residents are. And if you look at Chip's chart showing our levy going down since we first started using TIF, that's the long-term trend, and I think to the extent we take advantage of that, we keep that thing going. So long-term, I know it's a big dollar figure, but long-term, it's a good thing for the taxpayers of the city.
Thank you, Warren. And Ash has had numerous members from other towns come and ask how we're succeeding in this, and we say, well, the free lots is a big kicker right there, but I'm surprised how fast the 3 phases have filled up. And like I say, we're really short on houses and rentals at this time in town. So, up to the council now.
I'd like to chime in here. Appreciate everybody's hard work. First and foremost, I know it takes a lot of time and our time up here as well. When I go and say this, I'm not saying I'm against this or for it. I am on the fence right now about the whole thing, to be honest. I think there's some information that we don't have up here tonight. I think that maybe tabling this for maybe a week to get some of that information, let us think about this. I think it'd be irresponsible on our part if we made a decision tonight. This is a lot of money. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Can I ask you what information?
It's classified, but we can talk about it later.
We have a special meeting in 2 weeks, May 22nd.
We can't do that.
No, I mean, we have a special meeting coming up in 2 weeks if they decide to take it.
Sure. But I think we have to get it done within a week.
Oh, I was gonna ask
Right.
you first.
So by the notice to bidders that we publish, the bids are good for 30 days from the point that we receive bids. So 2 weeks from tonight would be outside that 30 days. So potentially a contractor could pull their bid if we wait 2 weeks. Now I could reach out to both of the contractors and see if they'd be willing to keep their bid in place for an additional week. But I don't know that I'd be able to do that tonight.
When is this information gonna come to light?
And before you answer, I was just kind of wondering, if this was known that we needed additional information, could that have been gathered prior to the meeting?
Well, I'd like to think so.
But
And
I
I don't
guess I
think
don't,
this is on Ash. I don't think that this information's coming from something.
yeah, I don't know what it could be.
I don't know what it is.
And I would like to talk about it, but I've already signed a confidentiality form. So that kind of stops me dead in my tracks.
Yeah, and
Well, I'm kind of confused too.
well, if you signed a confidentiality agreement, you can
Right.
kind of see where that's coming from. Because I'm sure Mr. Kava signed one when he went too.
And it might not be a big deal, but it wasn't presented to us.
Is that something
And I
that they're willing to come forward and present, or is it still hush hush?
I think it should be probably
Doesn't
hush
mean-
Well, if you signed a confidentiality agreement, I'm pretty sure I know where it's coming from. I
And
mean,
we can
I'm
talk
just-
behind closed doors as well, that, I don't have a problem with that, I guess, but, I think I need to get with somebody and discuss this before we make a huge decision.
Well, going into an executive session for discussing something like contract negotiations is certainly.
that right now.
We could do it at the end of the meeting if you didn't want to keep the public waiting.
Probably.
It's not on the agenda. If at the end of the meeting, everybody left, you could just do it. But
Okay.
it's not on the agenda.
Hmm.
So
Well,
we have
you
to.
have to move this agenda item to the end of the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
And vote to go into.
an executive, I know what he's saying
Executive
now. So, Mr. Mayor, with that being said, can we table number 5 until the end of the meeting?
I suppose.
Or do we still need to look at moving?
Well, I mean, given, if we go in, like what Warren said, if we move it to the end of the meeting and then everybody leaves, we talk about it.
Yes.
I mean, Forrest and them can stay, come back in, and if that's what we choose to go ahead and vote, then we can, because we're in, you can come out of that back into a regular meeting, I think is what he's saying.
I'm not a lawyer, but
We've
we
discussed
can
this
go to
type of
close,
stuff before.
we can't go to closed session.
It's not a closed session, it's an executive session. There's a difference, correct?
Well, it'd be essentially the same thing.
Yeah,
It's an exception to the open meetings law that allows you to go into closed session for a certain class of decisions, and contract negotiations.
It's one of them. So if you wanted to, Corey, we could move this to the end.
Sure.
We could go into that, we could discuss it, and then we can come back out of it. And then if we all feel, that we need to table it, we table it, and we go from there.
Sure.
And we can just get it done tonight.
So
I
I
don't
got,
know if I'll be still on board about.
Well, I'm not saying you
Put
will,
my vote
but
on
I'm just
tonight,
saying,
but-
but we can all have that discussion here.
so you're the only one of the 5 council members that knows about this?
No.
No,
You should know it.
I didn't know a thing about it.
Okay.
You?
I'm not sure.
Read your emails.
Right before the council meeting.
Well,
No,
it wasn't a
right
council
before the
email.
council meeting.
So, okay, can we just table this
Sure.
to the end?
Let's just table it.
So I didn't get an email, did I? I guess I don't know. I have no.
I did not get an email,
I have
that
no
answers
I
your
can go and
question.
look on the email chain to see.
I know I did, so, okay,
Nothing.
Would it come down?
No.
That's the last email I got today.
I'm so unconcerned about that.
Okay.
It wasn't today.
okay.
Six, right?
Okay.
Number 6.
Did you catch that for us? We're gonna move it to the end. Okay.
2023 sewer landfill.
I have a motion that's based on the way forward.
Is Jim okay with this? Is work acceptable?
Yes, to this date, yes.
Okay, I'll move that.
Renzo. Second by Morgan. Patrick.
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes.
Morgan. Yes. Come yes. Renzo.
Yes,
Okay, 7. Resolution number 2311C, setting the date for public hearing.
The new public hearing is gonna be on May 22nd, 2 weeks from today. And that hearing will be for, it's 3 hearings. One will be for the 7 million, and one will be for 175,000, and the last one will be for the 175,000. That's what the presentation was from Chip.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
regard
that's
to the
for
finance.
your stuff.
All not to exceed amounts.
Yeah, it's all about
Scope.
scope.
All not to exceed amounts depending upon what scope the council decides to proceed with on that.
And that will be the whole reason for the meeting on the Wednesday.
Okay, this one.
Yes.
Public hearing.
Yes.
You need a motion.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll move that.
Second,
Moved by Caldwell, second by Renzo, and by Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes.
Morgan. Yes. Caldwell. Yes. Renzo.
yes,
Midwest Partnership contribution.
Okay, we give this contribution every year to Midwest Partner based on $1 per capita. They use different format. This is the first time I think we use a different format, but we give $1 per capita, which is 1,782. And we've been given that over every year. It was the last.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Yeah,
Moved
she
by
might
Renzo,
introduce
second by
Brenda.
who?
Not everybody knows maybe that Brenda's the head of Midwest Partnership now.
Oh, yeah, well, go ahead and,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Brenda.
Brenda is the new executive director for Midwest Partnership. And
Yeah,
I think it's a real plum in the hat of Stuart to have
yes.
a local resident as the director of our regional economic development group. I think it's-
Good.
And she's getting off to a wonderful start.
Good job. Brenda.
Thank you.
Who seconded this? You, Mike?
I do, yes.
Okay. Okay, so how do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Morgan, Caldwell, Renzo.
Yes,
9, travel Iowa. Katie? Oh, Paige is gonna do it.
Hello, I'm Paige Whitty, and I come with good news and just want to share that we have an exciting opportunity. We aren't asking anything of you, but just merely making an announcement. A couple months ago, our former chamber director and now current executive director of Midwest Partnerships, Brenda Dudley, sorry, applied with Travel Iowa to be considered as one of the hosting committees. Stuart was selected to be the second host for this sponsored event. This event will be taking place June 20th and 21st. And as a host, we are asked to set up blocks of rooms for lodging, prepare the Saint Center for their meetings, set up a catered lunch option, spearhead a short volunteer project, as well as a tour of the town's proudest tourist attractions. We have a great volunteer committee put together to prepare for our visitors. And again, we're not asking for anything from you, but rather as a courtesy to inform our leaders of this exciting opportunity coming to our community. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't, but a thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, 10 fire department volunteers, Twin Towns.
Okay, I visited with fire chief Josh Winslow a while ago, and we talked about the idea of how to give a small token to our volunteers. And we both came up with the idea of giving a free pass, family passes every year to certain people on the development. I would like to give it to all the development, but we decided to just choose a few on the
Anybody
list.
over 50% made 50% of their calls, correct?
Yeah, and I asked Josh to give me a list of who he recommends. He gave me those names, and I highly recommend that the council approve that basis for them just for 1 year, and every year we'll be presenting different people. That's a small token, and I want to thank all the volunteers on the fire development for all the good work that they do. The council to close, but have a motion.
Motion. James,
I'll second it.
second by Patrick, how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Morgan, Kavah,
Abstain?
Renzo.
Abstain.
Motion carried. Thank you all for volunteering and hopefully we'll
Thank you.
see you continue. Thank you.
Jim or Ash, can you talk with Shell? Apparently they had sign up for swim lessons and I don't know if they didn't have enough staff. I had complaints that it's a long line and took forever. That if
Well,
we
that-
could get more help.
And just, I don't know who does the depot stuff, but there was a rental of the depot on Saturday and I got a phone call only because I knew who it was. And apparently the overflow of all this was, and they had nowhere to park. So I don't know if maybe we get some signs, maybe up there that say no parking only for depot rental because people are paying to rent that and then they don't have anywhere for these people to park. They had a baby shower and they had nowhere to park. So I don't know if it's maybe something we can get some only depot parking or something. Just
Okay.
a thought.
11, rezoning TFM property. This time to open the public hearing. Comments, concerns from general public? Close public hearing. B, ordinance number 2302C, amending the code of ordinances.
I'm sure we're all familiar with the situation, so if we wanna move to waive the first reading.
So moved.
I
Second.
Second, by Vincent.
How do you vote? Morgan? Kavah?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes.
I'll do the second, third.
Yes, please.
Okay, need a motion for the second. Moved by Morgan,
Second.
second by Dolly. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes.
Need a motion to waive the third and final.
So moved.
Second.
Renzo, second by Kavah. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes.
Okay. 13. Stewart Economic Development map.
Which one?
What's that? Oh, this one.
12.
Oh, 12, we got this one, okay. 2312C, setting the date, now is that June 12th?
The next regular meeting,
Okay.
June 12th.
I'll move that.
Moved by Kavah,
I'll second.
second by Dolly, how do you go? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Kavah? Yes. Renzo?
Yes.
Now we do 13.
All right, I'd like to start with Trevor and Sadie Klepke have submitted a TIF application. They are requesting $50,000 in TIF, and they are going to put into their application invest $200,000 into the building at the 113 Northeast Second Street. I have asked if we could send this on to bond council.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yes, and
You want to move? I'll
I
move
don't care. I'll second it.
moved by Vincent, moved by Kavah, second by
Okay,
Vincent.
so how do you go? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
it.
Kavah?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes.
Okay, and B,
Okay.
Main Street Marketing.
Next is Main Street Marketing. Last conversation we had, city council was in favor of marketing, and we got that on the agenda to approve.
Yeah,
Finally.
let me explain this quickly. We have included that in the amendment of the urban renewal plan, so we'll be able to reimburse what we spent on that from the tip. So right now, what we need you to decide is, are you ready to go with him? When do you want him to start? You know, how much you wanna give him? He came up with some agreement, we put it in the council bracket. And then, as soon as you make that decision, we'll go ahead and follow up with that TIF thing, something we call internal solution, internal advance, the general bay and the cover, familiar with that.
Here to here.
So, yeah, kind of from here to there. So it's all paperwork now, but the whole idea that I want is you're good to go with him. You want him to start on the dollar amount. You need to kind of make that decision for me.
I'll move to approve it as it is.
Okay, well, okay, move in second.
Second it,
To
okay.
approve the $1,200. We'll give him the go-ahead from July, so we can do this
Oh, in the next section,
paperwork
yeah.
and thing. So we'll have him go ahead and start July. That allow us to do the resolution and all these paperwork, and he's ready to go, and hopefully we'll be happy with.
And Nate, you want to come up? Do you have anything to say?
You say, why did it take so long?
That's 100% the question.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, I just.
we couldn't get it on the
things-
agenda and every time we talk about it.
So this is where we're at. You guys need this. We needed it 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Now you wanna wait another
No,
month and a half.
that was not my motion when I.
At that
You
point,
can go ahead and start June. It doesn't matter, maybe we just wanna get the TIF flowing, that's all. But
yeah, I
start
mean,
June.
Go ahead.
my concern is not how you shift one fund to the other. It's just, when can I start? And am I gonna get paid within some certain amount of time that's not 18 months?
No, you will be paid monthly. That's the internal thing that I'm doing and all this resolution. All paperwork, you'll be getting paid monthly, the $1,200 at the other. So,
He's got May 8th in here.
Right.
I don't, like I said, you know,
I made the motion to approve it as
As
is,
is.
so May
I'll
8th.
start jockeying the funds, can't you? So I'm like, oh.
it just.
I don't think $1,200 out of a general, if we have to pay it out of general, I don't think
And
it's
we
gonna
will
hurt
pay it out of
anything.
the
He's,
general. Yeah.
because he's good at what he does and it's gonna improve this,
Yeah, your motion is.
my motion is to approve it as it is.
Okay, we can start right away. Okay.
If you're okay with that,
Thank you.
Okay, so, moved in second. How you vote, Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Kavah? Yes. Renslow?
yes.
Okay. On C, city council meeting. Who's heading this? Who's pushing that, change the time?
Me.
Just you?
Just wait.
We talked
Well,
about it
I
last
mean,
week.
Yeah, I
didn't we?
know.
I think we all.
I mean, all these people that work in the morning, are you
I
okay?
think we discussed that 6 o'clock was an okay time,
You
right?
can do it.
To be honest, I got everybody, well, Dave was a little hesitant.
Okay.
And
So-
still might be.
But verbally, everybody seemed to agree that 6 o'clock was a reasonable time, moving it up a half hour.
Okay.
I think if everybody was on board, I'd be all for that, but if we have
Yeah,
a
Dave.
fellow council member that's can't make the work, then probably,
I don't think it does.
that's totally up to you, because,
But we don't want you to say, well, I can't make it.
Well, I see a look and I see a
Well-
smile.
oh.
There's not a great time for a council meeting, so
Sure.
it'll be fine.
Okay, if it's fine, we need a motion to just keep it on the way, it will be 6 o'clock.
Starting when?
Next month.
For the June meeting, or
As
for
long
the
as we
next
don't go
special
before
meeting.
6, I'm gravy.
Okay, we need a
So
motion. June.
Okay, I'll move that.
Moved by Kavah.
I'll second it.
Second by Renslow. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yeah,
Dolly?
Yeah.
Morgan?
Yeah.
Kavah?
Yes.
Renslow?
Yes.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
May I offer that May 22nd, our special will be 6:30 then?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I have that down.
May 22nd will be 6.
30.
No, 6, because we put it in the paper at 6. We send it.
Whatever's in the paper.
6.
Okay,
May
I guess
22nd will be
it's
6. It's a special meeting, we usually have it at 6.
Okay.
We send the stuff to the paper, so
Okay.
it's a correction.
Downtown speaker system, Christina.
So a couple weeks ago, I was approached by a couple business owners, and we've had some discussion about the speaker issue downtown. And I know that we had it for special events, but it's been discussed that the chamber's been kind of wanting, during business hours, which I don't think is asking too much. We've had one property owner that has expressed displeasure with it and has sent very rude emails. So I apologize to Katie and Paige for being on the end of that. That's unacceptable. But I'm asking just to set a policy that we can work with the chamber and allow them to keep the music on as, the appropriate volume, appropriate music.
What time's it usually off? Because I get back into town about 4 or 5 o'clock.
It has been on because,
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
because
Okay.
the person has been expressing concerns.
And the speaker has been turned away from the building, the decibels are okay according to the police.
Yeah, the police have
Everything.
checked everything,
Legals.
and I'm sorry, if you live downtown, you should expect stuff like this. Like,
so-
this is,
You say the police checked, and I don't know, do we have a decibel rating in our ordinance or something?
I think we do.
Okay, so if they've checked it, I was just wondering.
Oh,
if
no,
they-
they've checked it
Okay.
multiple times.
And it says business hours, so, we have businesses open till 10, are we only talking like until?
I was going to present this, and then I was going to hand it over to the chamber president.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. You were not given my packet ahead of time. I apologize.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good evening, council and leadership. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Katie Adams. I am the chamber president this year, as well as the owner of Stuart Flowers and Gifts. I want to point out a couple italicized facts I have at the top of the sheet that I find relevant when you're hearing about this speaker situation. The first of which is that the music is played on an app called Sonos on a phone, and I have access to that app. But the second fact that follows that is that the volume is controlled in the basement of City Hall. Additionally, you'll see here that volume can be adjusted on each speaker outside at 3 different levels. A 4 being the lowest, an 8, or a 16. So as you're thinking about the rest of what I'll share tonight, those facts are important when it comes to the ability to quickly change the volume or make adjustments as such. So with that, the Stuart Chamber of Commerce is asking for city support to play the downtown speakers. While music has historically played during the holidays and special events, the majority of businesses in downtown Stuart would like the music to also play Fridays and Saturdays. We are coming to the city for support because these are city speakers installed in the 2016 City Infrastructure Project. The chamber has access to play the music as requested on the Sonos app. However, each time the music plays, we are subject to constant complaints at length that now have included legal references in an email specifically to me. So why are we pushing this issue? Why play the music? Music is played in retail stores for decades, and I have found in reading how people choose to play music, it's not about if you play it or not, it's what type. Now, music is making its way into downtown Main Street districts across the United States, from Somerset, Kentucky, to Watertown, South Dakota, to Concordia, Kansas, to Sykesville, Maryland. Nearly 100 street sound speaker systems have been installed. And street sound is a system that is directly connected in partnership with Main Street programs across the United States. The music is playing close to home, too. Corning and Woodbine, Iowa both play their speakers 7 days a week. You can find details of their music at the bottom of my footnotes. Included in this packet is a petition by the chamber to play the music on Fridays, Saturdays, special events, and holidays. You will see several signatures from business owners and residents in the district where the speakers are located. And while the petition shows that several downtown businesses and tenants are in favor of the music on Fridays and Saturdays, there are 2 businesses that would not sign. We did ask Varley Law Office to review cases of music in public areas. And at the end of their review, on the back on page 2, included in your packet, They summarize, we recommend that the chamber consider the reasonable needs and expectations of residents and businesses in the downtown area in establishing practices for the playing of music over the city speakers. I want to highlight 5 areas in which I feel the chamber has been reasonable. Initially, the chamber wanted to play the music daily, and in turn, we feel 2 days per week is a reasonable request. I sought out Exploration Learning, the local daycare here in the downtown, Johnson Family Funeral Home, and Harmony Healing Arts to ensure music does not interfere with daycare naps, funeral services, and the care provided by Harmony Healing Arts. It does not. In fact, these business owners would like the music to play. And I intentionally point out because they offer chiropractic work and other medical work. One of the case studies in the Varley Law Opinion references a medical clinic. And so I find that important because that was actually deemed to be unreasonable because patients could hear it in their rooms. This is not the case here in Stuart. Third, Mayor Cook confirmed that decibel testing was done to ensure the volume was reasonable on the downtown speakers. When looking through city code, I did find what the decibels were. The utilities team went out and tested it, and it does not exceed what is unreasonable. And also, specifically, they shared with me hard on the ears. They knew more than I did about it, as they should. Also, Stuart Municipal Utilities physically turned speakers, as well as adjusted the volume on the speakers next to the 2 businesses who would not sign. We feel like these are reasonable accommodations that have been made. And finally, the music has not been played since I was addressed in my place of business during business hours on March 24th. I have decided not to play it until I have worked to achieve reasonableness, as we must live and work together. So how does this benefit Stuart? The last 18 months have introduced new storefronts and new business owners to Stuart, generating an increase in sales tax for this community. Stuart is a place in which people can truly experience the 3-2-1 of tourism. And that is 3 things to do, 2 places to eat, and at least 1 place to stay. This method assumes that you can come to a community and spend 4 or more hours here. And you can definitely do that as we offer eateries, retail stores, family-friendly activities, such as our bowling alley, the Stuart Speedway, as well as city and state parks. In fact, not only have you likely learned from city leaders that people are spending more time and money in Stuart, but consider this fact we learned from Travel Iowa last week at the chamber meeting. Without tourism, Iowa households would pay almost $800 more in taxes a year. Not only are we helping attract more visitors and tourists to Stuart, but we're also creating more opportunities for current and future citizens here. Deb Sprecher of the Woodbine Main Street program told me when I called her about their daily music that we, being small town advocates, must have pride of place. That's what she called it. And she focused that on sustainability of small towns in Iowa. I also read a quote from a graduate art student from the University of Iowa who shared that a place is more than a location. It's what you're proud of, invested in, and where you'd like to plant your roots. To help move Stuart forward as a destination small town, we ask for your support of the music to create a vibe of fun, positivity, and the feeling of pride that Stuart is the place, your place, and our place. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay,
And I would like to take any questions.
question. Years ago, I got a call and the music, the same song was playing and it was skipping, but you have total control at your business. You don't have to go to the.
I stand at the northwest corner of the library outside,
Okay,
and I'm connected to Wi-Fi called Downtown Music Speaker System. And I select a station and hit play, and then I come back to hit stop.
okay,
I cannot control it from anywhere but that corner outside of the library.
okay. But a city employee does not have to be involved to go down the basement to run anything,
Only the volume,
only the volume.
right?
Okay.
Right, and some stations, I think it's fair to say we learned some stations play louder than others.
Yeah.
It's like when you're watching your TV and the commercials are louder. Ironically, like the Halloween music is much louder than the 50s rock and roll. So I don't know really how we tackle that in a good manner. I know for a while, when I was told that downstairs if it was here, it was way too loud, and if it was here, it was too soft, but in the middle, it wouldn't work. So I don't know, but I do know that we were constantly messing with it simply downstairs. And then the utilities, they started getting in the bucket truck and adjusting it specifically for accommodations.
With these people you talked to, the other towns and stuff, did they indicate that they had any issues with businesses? And if they did they tell you how they resolved it with that business?
So I met the Corning rep at a tourism conference. Really, all she gave me was, yeah, we play it 7 days a week all the time. That was it. You could barely hear it when you're standing between speakers. So I don't think they have too many issues. Woodbine shared with me that they play it 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. The reason they play it until 8 p.m. is because they have a destination restaurant and they want people to hear it as they walk in. And she said with 26 speakers in the downtown, they do have 36 housing units. And so when they get complaints, they will go out and adjust the volume on those speakers like we've done in the bucket truck to accommodate
Okay, so
to
that's,
accommodate folks, yeah.
okay.
And on street corners, traffic's louder, so they typically turn it up, except on the corners, for example, that have, I think, about 11 housing units. And she said, Main Street program really replaced Woodbine's chamber. So think of it in those terms. So she said she makes the phone calls, people do go to her about it, but they've been able to work that out because they fundraise for the speakers. This was really their project that they have had, and they've been playing them for 3 years. And she said they just have learned to work together. And it seems to be that it's going to play, so then it seems to be they'll adjust the volume in terms of being accommodating to people.
Right, because I know even turning the speaker to try to accommodate some, they can still hear it maybe from a different one, and you still have the same problem on it.
Yeah, and our requests, for example, on Fridays and Saturdays, since I have access, I would like someone else to in the event I'm not here on Fridays or Saturdays, but our business hours typically are anywhere from 9 to 4, 9 to 5. So that's what we'd be looking at. We understand maybe playing it from the lunch hour on Fridays through the end of the day even, and then Saturdays, just kind of that prime shopping time from mid-morning to mid to late afternoon.
And so in my memo, I was just asking, because we've had so many problems with a certain resident, that it be a decision here, but that we can work with the chamber, because I think everybody downtown is pretty, they want it, and it's nice to have down there. It's inviting.
Matt, you got something?
Did any of these other towns have any kind of a policy written on this that you know of?
I don't believe Corning does. Woodbine, she said she did not reference a policy. A whole page of notes from what she was saying to me, but she did not reference a policy. In fact, no, they don't, because she goes, I wouldn't want a policy because a policy can restrict it even further once it's in writing.
They also fundraised for their speakers.
Right.
The problem we have is that the speakers are city.
Well,
So-
and to be clear, once I received a visit and then a follow-up email on a Monday that was this long and included legal links, that's not something that I feel like I should have to worry about as a business owner, that it would come back to me personally. And so then we started down the path of okay, we want to play it, people enjoy it. So I wanted to go about it in a way that showed you we've tried to make accommodations, we've tried to be reasonable, and we love the way in which we are talked to
But I also think that all of your businesses downtown, except for 2, have signed this. Ash, I think when this email came about, did Dwayne
Yes,
send something?
yes.
The city attorney sent something to the individual because they were threatening legal stuff. And then when they started getting the petition, Paige got another email, which was very unfortunate and very rude. And for me, I don't think that our business owners should have to be subjected to this behavior. And so I figured that if we talked about it as a city council and we made the decision that, yes, we are gonna play the speakers,
Right.
then
No, I
We've
wholeheartedly
set the
agree.
bar, and if somebody has an issue, they can take it farther up if they so need, but
It needs to be
it needs to be addressed.
advised that this is city stuff, not your stuff.
Right,
Right.
it
Even
is
though
not a
you
chamber problem.
Run it, and do some music.
Right.
It's still here, as far as the ultimate. I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't think it's unreasonable what they're asking, especially if they're limited, I mean, if they're going Friday and Saturday, I mean, I thought it would be all week, but if they're going Friday and Saturday to try to accommodate and be respectful, I don't think that's all that much to
Until
ask.
5,
Yeah.
till 5.
Right.
you
Right.
know, I mean,
And the big thing is I know that one of the people that are a tenant for the person that's has signed your petition saying that, yes, they would love to hear the music.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't get it.
yeah, it's hard to say on, how people get. I don't know how anybody else feels if we need to, get anything to our city attorney to see if there's
I think
anything.
he's already addressed it, hasn't he?
But, I mean, I haven't seen, I haven't seen an opinion from him. I think what you did, Warren.
I didn't do it.
Karen.
Oh, okay, well, your office, I'll say then. That he got an opinion. I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't know.
I don't know why
if
we would need a legal opinion. I mean, we're just saying they can play music. It's against the law to play music. For me, it's sad that we're letting one concern dictate what we're doing. I mean, that concern comes in and treats the city employees like mud. I mean, they come in here and they scream and they yell at our employees. They're yelling at our business owners. I brought this so that way we could make the decision and just leave it up to the chamber. I don't.
I think that needs to be on a motion, so it's.
Right, that's why I brought it to
No, and
our
that's
attention.
fine. I was
I don't
just-
think we need to spend money on a legal opinion. There's
I was
nothing
just-
there.
Just asking.
No, I'm, that's just where I'm at.
What do you have to say, Matt?
Okay, I'd just like to add that I appreciate what Katie said there, but they represent the chamber. I have access to that speaker system as well. I've played that speaker system. I noticed that the person that has been raising these issues seems to have a problem with the women business owners in our town. Yet I've played that music and nobody's questioned me about it.
So
And
this time.
so I would like to add that I play that music, I don't want to be restricted. If there's a school event, let's say we have a school sports, let's say they win something big, something big to them. And we want to celebrate, by chance we want to play some music. You're gonna restrict that? I don't think it should be restricted.
I'll make the motion for the chamber to play the music as they see fit. I mean, I don't think it has to be, I'm not gonna say it has to be Friday and Saturday. My motion would be just to leave it to your discretion. I mean, you guys are the ones that are bringing in money down there. You're doing a great job down there. So I'm gonna make the motion to leave it up to the chamber.
Moved by Renzo,
I'll second.
second by Kirkpatrick, how you vote, Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Abstain.
Morgan? Yes. Kava?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes.
And if you have any issues, let the city know, and then we'll turn it over to our city
Or
attorney.
you can call up to the Guthrie County, our officers can come, if they're harassing, call the officers, they can take care of it.
Yeah, just advise them, they need to contact the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Okay, photo joint meetings, 15.
This is just a follow-up to what I was talking about last month. I think it would be nice that we have something set in stone that in the months of March, June, September, and December, we have a quick joint meeting with utilities, and it can start at 6 at our regular time. We can have a joint meeting and then move right into ours. Same thing I talked about last month, it's just actually on the agenda. But I want this to be set, that we have these so that they don't get moved. And if we don't need them, we don't need them, but they need to be set because we've been lacking. And we need to have that open communication.
Whatever they want to.
Well, we're elected, they're appointed, right? So we get to request. I guess
I talked to one of the utility board meeting, who's all in favor of it.
Yeah, I know of at least 3 of them that are in
Problem
favor
what
of
we
it.
had out here with our street project and the utilities weren't involved. I want everybody on the
Sure.
same page.
Yeah.
And I know one utility board in particular has come up to me after a meeting and said they want more communication, they want better, you know, better working relationship. So I think if we as a council set quarterly meetings, just,
Move for that.
That's it.
Second one.
Okay, how do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan? Colin?
Yes.
Sandra?
yes,
Okay, nuisance violations and code abatement. I'd like to have the council have permission, which been 2 years, we've only got 3 final notices. And 2 of them was let go because it changed properties, which that's not a very good showing, but I would like to see if we had a final notice from our lawyer that I could proceed with the cleanup. If it's under $500, it's more, but I have to go through council approval.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second by Kirkpatrick, how do you vote? Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Kava?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes. Did we get the final notice stuff figured out? The list, you're working on it? Okay.
Well,
It looked
that's, I got a
It looked
question,
better.
but you were at our meeting,
Mhm.
Court, right? Was you under the impression that we were starting all over with the first notice or finishing up on the third notices?
Oh, boy.
See, that's what I thought, we was finishing up on third and we we're starting all over with the first notice. As I said, we spent $1,000 this month, $1,000 another month.
Right, and I think, what did we talk about? Because there was, what did Max say? He said something about there was going to be a time, an expiration time or something
That's
like
probably
that.
part of it, is they waited so long.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
I
waited
asked
too
where the
long,
Where the 24 notices went, and nobody seems to know, so I think he started all over, but
Oh, boy.
I am getting a few pictures, but not as many as the notices.
So Sarah sent an email to all of us just saying if we had any
Yeah.
suggestions, and I did email today. My husband's aunt and uncle got a notice, but they said they didn't have a problem with it. They just asked if they could circle what the issue was because they got a picture, but they don't know exactly what in that picture he was discussing.
That their violation is.
Right, and she's like, I think I have it cleaned up, but I don't know because I don't know particularly what it is. And so I emailed him and he emailed me right back and he said, yes, I'll start circling the issue,
Or
so
explain, yeah.
Yeah.
Or something.
a little more in depth, so,
Yeah, that's been lacking is the in-depth.
yeah, and so he said he would do that.
Okay.
Hopefully after meeting, things will move forward, because we had Tories at Corey Kleins and then Tories at Megan Pikes, and once it goes to that, so hopefully move forward and get some of these taken care of. I did personally hand our cleanup notices for our town cleanup to a few people, and some of them showed up, and some of them didn't show up, so we'll have to.
Do you know where Jason sits on looking at condemning that house on North Division? Remember when they were here, I said maybe we need to look at the house that's always getting at a health hazard? Ash, can you
Well,
follow up with them and
I'm
see where
trying
they're at?
I'm trying to work with Sarah, I got pictures of it, and a company owns the house that's selling it to them, and she said if there's problems, they
But
can.
I think
step in.
it's more than just a code, I mean, I think it's a cleanliness, a
A
health
issue.
issue at this point, I mean, it's pretty bad, so.
I do like the new spreadsheet that
I do
that
too.
we talked about, so, yeah.
Okay. Okay, 17, city employee wages.
Okay, every year in the same time, we get together and do that bad thing.
Do the bad thing.
Well, yeah, this is the list of everybody, how much they made. And I always say how much I consider the budget, and then the council decide. I consider on the budget 4% for increased wages. More than welcome to give more, but don't give less, please.
What did you say? What did you say, letter said gave?
Well, SAC gets 3%.
Okay.
So is this across the board then, Ash?
Yes, that's my recommendation. but you guys do give more, that's good with me.
So my only question is, and I know this has been talked about, is while everybody's been getting raises, our EMTs, our part-time EMTs have not been getting raises.
That's why we have it here on the list.
No, I get that, but we're gonna give them what everybody else has been getting, and they haven't been getting anything. When's the last time they got a raise?
Last year,
They did get a raise last year?
yes. Promotion,
Part-time, I do not recall our part-time EMTs getting a raise last year. Do you, Mike?
yes.
Oh my God.
I know.
I'm gonna answer, no, I don't remember, just because I don't have a full memory.
I mean,
Were
you
you
go
on the
to,
council last year?
you go to finance and find out right away, can't you?
We got it or not last year.
That's why it's such a nice round number.
Okay.
We did, yes. So we included them here and to get to this point that they will be known that they getting them.
Now, last year, you gave the swimming pool a raise, but it's raised up already, so you're not including the swimming pool
No,
staff.
last meeting we
We
gave them a
just did,
raise.
it. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll give
so
them a
the
raise.
swimming pool's
I just wanted to
excluded,
clarify that.
Yes.
I don't see why they
So,
right?
You get the same round every month.
so, we'll take out this.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve as presented.
4%.
Okay,
Okay, move by Morgan.
I'll second it.
Second by Renzo. How do you vote? Patrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Kavanaugh? Yep. Renzo?
Yep.
Now, we're 5-minute break, and then we'll have to go back to 5 and I'll move going in there.
I,
Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
Hold on.
I'm sorry to make Chip before it stays at this point, but I think we can avoid going into closed session.
Oh.
In fact, if everybody's good with it, I would suggest that we go ahead and proceed with the.
Can I have a 5-minute break?
Yeah, sure.
Just a second, then we'll.
So but you're willing to explain what's going on?
Well, I'm gonna say what I think is going on.
Okay, well.
I was showing up a little.
Corey.
just in case you're thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're right.
Okay, so yeah, the
Well,
confidentiality.
well,
agreement doesn't apply.
Well, even if it doesn't apply, I knew about it through other means. I know about it.
Oh, goodness.
Now, bring it.
What information?
Yeah, we can have this.
Not really.
Oh, Matt, are you gonna talk about the changes in the urban renewal?
The items that weren't in the plan amendment, that were in discussion.
I can't feel I'm drawing a blank on it, to be honest now.
I'm sure Chip can refresh your memory. Who's got your baby?
Oh.
They're in the cage.
I would welcome to have you explain, because I have no idea what's going on.
They're not gonna have it.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
He's, oh, he's got some classic issues. He's come to 2 practices. Yeah, so. I had to take him.
Was he gonna go with it?
No.
He normally like walks to church. He loves breads, like.
Not 2, stole a couple color balls. Brings the color balls, so he stole one from
5?
Or was that page that was on this one?
Yeah.
It's
All messed up.
It's the very last sheet.
Okay, we're back to item number 5.
5.
Matt's younger, Matt Funk is younger than me, and he figured out what Corey was getting at a lot quicker than I did.
Thank you.
I'm getting older and slow.
I,
And the issue that I think Corey is concerned about, Matt also made me aware of outside of the seed meeting, so I think I can talk about it based on that communication. There was an individual who lives in one of the housing phases out there who said that they were going to request that the city council do an environmental study. The property will be part of the Phase 4 housing development. And I asked Forrest about it because I thought that was something to be checked out. When we did the spec building that's now part of the Wausau supply, we used federal funds, and so we had to do an archaeological study and an environmental study as part of that. And that was 25 years ago. It wasn't an outrageous amount of money, but it was expensive. And of course, you don't want to find anything. It was a farm field, I think. The only, and Forrest said that there's nothing in our current proposal that would require us to do an environmental study.
Yeah, now that I know what we're talking about, I can address that.
But, and, you know, the only thing that concerns me from an environmental point of view is something that the council is already on top of, and that's whether or not there's asbestos in that house before they burn it. I think you do need to know that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in communication with the homeowner, and Matt had Josh Renslow contact me about getting permission to go on and sample the property. I think he was gonna do that this weekend. I don't know if that happened or not, but that was, I think that's in process. Obviously, that's gonna affect how we deal with the house, but that's the only environmental concern that I have.
Can I ask you, if this gentleman had an issue of this sort, why did he not bring it up at a public hearing?
There have been numerous opportunities. In fact, what I was worried about was there was some concern about the bids. And, you know, we had a public hearing that Forrest and Matt and I came to, and nobody from the public came to.
But he could have submitted it in writing too, correct?
And I don't think it was that big a deal because they haven't made the step of even contacting City Hall to raise this concern or come to a city council meeting. So that's pretty low on my level of concerns. I think Chip's done a wonderful job of crunching the numbers. He's always very conservative, and I'm hoping the city will proceed with his recommendation.
I just think,
And go ahead, Corey.
to go back to where I was saying, I mean, that is something, if a citizen brings something up, whether it's to the council, the seat or something, I think it needs to be addressed. We're elected officials up here. So if that was explained to us, I probably wouldn't have brought it up, but I just feel like sometimes information is being withheld, and we probably shouldn't do that. Especially if a citizen is bringing that forward to either us or seed, we probably need to discuss about it. Whether it amounts to nothing or something, I think we still need to address it.
I agree completely, which is why, you know, when Matt brought the issue to my attention, I turned to Forrest because he has much more experience in these kind of issues than I do. But you're absolutely right. I had just decided that it was a nothing burger and completely dismissed it, which is why Matt had to tell me that maybe we should concern. But you know, that's a mistake that's easy for somebody who is in the know to assume that everybody else knows what I do, and
Sure.
we don't. So I'm
Right.
glad you raised the concern. And did you want Forrest to address it all?
No, I think unless he needs to, unless there is something that we need to know further. But if it's just somebody who's being disgruntled or whatever, but if it's something that we don't need to worry about, then we'll just let it lie right here.
Okay,
I
Forrest,
don't have any
what do you need from us?
further.
I'll start to put all this.
The first part is accepting a bid is.
Sorry.
I think we gotta pick which option we're gonna go with, and then we gotta
Well, yeah, that's,
accept the bid.
well, yeah, that's what I mean. So you would do it by accepting a bid. So you did accept either a base bid or a base and alternate.
Well, and we have the other option of base and contingency.
Well, yeah,
For financing.
right, that's financing.
Financing. So that there's a couple steps here. One is there's a resolution approving plan specs form of contract. I think should have been prepared for that, or maybe that's part of the award.
We didn't get that, we just got the language of one bullet addition,
Okay,
housing base school award contract and approving land specification on form.
okay, so it's all
Yeah,
together.
total lump
Okay,
of
all done together.
it.
Which is fine. So really the council has 4 choices. You can table it if you want to table a decision to a special council meeting next week. I can check with the bidders if you want to table it for 2 weeks. And, if they won't, then we'll have a meeting next week. If they're okay with it, we could wait till the meeting already in 2 weeks so we can table it. You can reject all bids. If you're not comfortable doing the project, you're not happy with the bids, you can reject all bids. The third choice is you can award it to Macinich for the base bid work only, or you can award it for base bid and alternate to J&K to do the entire project. The financing part of it is really not really part of the decision tonight. It's, I mean, yes, it is if you award that, but if it